What's going on, Turf Talk? We have a very special guest today. He's a two-time first-team All-Pro, a two-time second-team All-Pro, a 1990s All-Decade team member. He made 7 Pro Bowls in the first 7 seasons of his career. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Richmond Webb. How are you?
Hey, how y'all doing today?
Very good. So let's just get into the first thing that I want to talk about. As a Dolphins fan, I think that we need to make a push for you to get in the Hall of Fame. Because we talked to OJ McDuffie too, and he said you're easily a Hall of Famer. You have everything to back it up. You played at a top level for a decade. You made the decade team. I don't know. I've been trying to push it on Twitter too. I think easily, like you gotta be in there. There's no way that you shouldn't be.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and it's a lot of fans been a lot of voices about me being deserving to be in there, but I agree with you. I agree with OJ. I think definitely my resume kind of speaks for itself. The things I accomplished throughout my career, definitely deserving to be in the Hall of Fame. Is just how do I get that traction, that attention to where the guys that actually make the voting take a serious look at it and say maybe we should really look at this guy, because, a lot of people are saying this guy is deserving, and rightfully so. So I appreciate, that effort, people on Twitter, guys with you that have a voice with your podcast and stuff, speaking up and making some noise, and hopefully it helps get a little traction, and then we can get that process started.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I wanted to say you're the first guest to be back on our podcast. So thanks again for coming on. This has been one of our biggest episodes previously, is the episode that we had you on. So I'm really happy to have you back on.
We had a good time the last time, so I'm glad y'all had me back on. It's good to see y'all. Y'all too looking in, and y'all doing a good job. So keep it up.
Yeah, thanks. So what's your predictions for like this year's Miami Dolphins season?
Barring no serious injuries at key positions, I definitely think the Dolphins should make the playoffs this year with the roster that we have. But not only make the playoffs, I think we have a legitimate shot to win the East. Now, saying that is one thing, but doing it is another. But I think the road up to now, until we do something to change, it still goes through Buffalo. So I think we have the caliber of players. I think we got the coaching. I think we got everything we need. Last year we had some injuries that really, I think, affected the outcome of the second half of the season. But with any club or organization that has a really good team, health or injuries can play a factor to determine how far you really go. But expecting playoffs and possibly win the AFC East division, that would be huge for the Dolphins this year.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I think we can win the East. It's just a matter of staying healthy. But what do you see from an outsider looking in on that?
I mean, it's a good team on paper, but again, injuries. It's always injuries that you got to look into on if they're going to be able to do it. I know there was. Did you change your offensive coordinator?
Or is it no, just the defense.
Okay, we'll see how the defense looks with a new defensive coordinator. I mean, that's really it. It's all just injuries, and you got to just take down your division foe.
Yeah, and they have owned us for a while. Like the 70s, we went 20-0 against them. Right now in the 2022, or like in the 2020s, they're 8-1, I think, or 9-1. So yeah. We do have to knock off the Bills. We need to get at least one win, in my eyes, for us to at least like be in contention for the division.
Yeah, at least split with them. That's the thing. You don't want to get swept by the Bills and this and that. And I'm trying to think. I think they may have beat us twice last year, but the year before we split or whatever and then lost in the playoffs. But I think they respect us, but I think they still think in the back of their mind that if the game goes on long enough that they can find a way to win the football game, and we just got to change that narrative. And I think this is the year we get it done.
Yeah. I do too, because with Anthony Weaver, I think obviously Vic Fangio was a great defensive coordinator, and he's one of the best in recent history. But you look at Anthony Weaver, he's from the Baltimore Ravens, so he has that like grit, and that's kind of what the South Beach teams have been lacking, is that physicality. So I hope that he can bring that into the locker room and have some pop-in practices and really get the guys going.
That'll be a good thing. I think everybody be happy if the defense really steps up and the way the offense was going last year, and you can get them both rolling like that. We'll be a really hard team to beat, and we have the players, we have the capability. Is just going out and execute it on a consistent basis, week in and week out. So yeah, I agree exactly with you. Great points you just made. I agree with you.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, especially with how the offensive line has played going into, I think today's day 11, it hasn't been the best. But in your opinion, I'm sure you've played almost every position on the offensive line. What do you think the hardest position to play is?
I've played every position except for center. Center for the offensive line is kind of like the quarterback for the offense. That's the guy, he throw the fronts, and a lot of time he'll make the first initial calls, and based on what he calls, that filters down to the guard, tackle, and all that. So I would probably say center as far as recognizing the front and knowing what to do, and then because if he gets wrong, he can throw everything off. And I played with some really good centers, and that truly helps make the job a little bit easier because got the confidence that this guy knows what he's doing, knows what he's looking at. He's going to make the right call, and it's going to put everybody else in a position to win. Now you just control a man that's in front of you or whatever, or, double team or whatever the play calls for you to do. But I'd probably say center's his position.
A lot of pressure put on centers.
Yeah. And it's one of the hardest positions to fill, too. The Dolphins are struggling with that this year with Connor Williams getting hurt and then not re-signing as of now. He's not signed with the Dolphins. They got Anthony Brewer, and they've had snapping issues. Aaron Brewer. They've had snapping issues the whole camp. So, I mean, hopefully we can get that settled because I do agree with you on that. I think center is the hardest because you have to snap the ball to the quarterback, and then you have to get your hand back as fast as possible to block.
That's true. And sometimes he's under center, and sometimes he's like in the shotgun formation. And if you have a snap, that not only throws the quarterback timing off, but the routes, you could disrupt everything. So, center is definitely a vital position. And like you say, sometimes you got a guy right over, you got to snap, be able to snap the ball, get your hand back, and try to start blocking a guy that right on your shoulder a lot of times, and that's not easy. So, it's definitely, to me, I think it's never played a bit. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the center position.
Yeah. And the Miami Dolphins O-line, I said it earlier, they've struggled through the 10 days of training camp that we've had, but it has been slowly improving. I wanted to ask you this because you can speak on it. You've been in training camps before, obviously. Do you think fans should worry, or is there enough time for them to improve?
I think it's enough time for them to improve. They probably got one of the coach Barry is one of the best line coaches, I would say, in the NFL right now, especially with the injuries we had last year and how he was able to plug and play different guys in different positions and still remain efficient enough for our offense to execute and move. It wasn't as good as it was for the task he had before last year, the way he had guys step up and fill those gaps or positions after injury. I think it is. I think it's tougher now than when I played because we did 2-a-days. So we got a lot more reps in the time when you're struggling, say as an offensive line or defensive line or whatever. We would get at least twice as many practices to get now because we go in the morning and the evening. So you got a lot more reps, which help get you prepared faster for the season. But I got faith in them. Like you said, I've been reading the comments and stuff, and the offensive line struggling, this and that. But I think they will get it together. I think it's probably more the interior. I think with Teron Armstead, he's not practicing, I think, at times. But Austin Jackson, I'm sure he's going to pick up what's left off. I think Eichenberg will probably compete for the right guard position. And so I think we're set at offensive tackle is getting the interior solidified and getting those guys used to working with each other and comfortable and getting some consistency, and then we'll be on our way to go.
Yeah, and what Bush Berry did last year, he had 14 different starters during the whole season. And the fact that Tua, I think, was in top 5 for the least amount of sacks. He only got sacked 30 times this year, something crazy. I think that is a testament to Tua's game-changing ability of the pocket presence, and also how Barry was able to do with the offensive line. I do think that he's one of the better O-line coordinators, and I'm scared that another team's going to poach him, but I do really like what he's doing. If you couldn't play football, what sport would you have pursued?
Oh man, when I was in high school, I was dual sports. So I played football and basketball, but I was way better football player than a basketball player. So I possibly could have got a scholarship, but it would have been to like a D2, a small school or something like that, because I was a center and 6'6", 6'7". That's normally like a small forward at a big school, and so I would have had the opportunity to go to college basketball, but making it to the NBA, nah. So that would have been the sport that I would have played, was basketball, but not at the level of football.
Yeah, I mean, we both. I wouldn't say we can hoop, but we both.
Can't.
Yeah, we enjoy basketball, but we're not gifted like that. we don't have the basketball genetics. You did the draft this year. You announced the second pick, Patrick Paul. What was that like? What was the draft like this year?
It actually was pretty cool. It was. I did it in 2019, and that was in Nashville. And matter of fact, it was another offensive line, Michael Dieter. He came out of Wisconsin, and I think third round pick, because we traded away the second round pick that year. But man, every year, this is my second time, but every year it gets better. I mean, the NFL does an outstanding job, putting it on, moving it from city to city. And I was just talking to a couple people and planning it 2 years out. So right now they're working on 2026 draft, even though 25 is next year. So they plan it 2 years. Yeah, they planned it 2 years out, and it was cool this year because we got to go out. And another thing is flag football. So we had kids that play flag football. They was able to walk out at the beginning of the announcement of the draft. We was all out on stage, stood in front of us, and we got to meet some kids that play flag football. And some of them, it was pretty cool talking to them, because I remember when I was a kid, and they said, well, let me see how big your hand is, and they want to put their hand up against yours and stuff like that. So it's always good to interact, because hopefully that's a lasting memory for them. But when I got an opportunity to meet guys like that, it was definitely for me. But I think the biggest thing was walking out there, making that call for the Dolphins, and then I got an opportunity. They have a section probably of 12 people for each NFL team. So the Dolphins was right down the stairs. I found the Dolphin fans, went down there and, got hugs and took pictures and selfies, and all that was pretty cool. Then you go on backstage, but they do a really good job as far as the fan interaction and getting the fans into it. It was good. I had a great time.
Yeah, that's awesome, because we plan on going to the next 2 drafts. They're kind of close to Buffalo. Pittsburgh is only a 4-hour drive, but Wisconsin's actually going to be like an 11-hour drive. So it's going to be a really fun trip next year. So Patrick Paul, he's a big dude. I think he's 6'7", 330. He's a big guy. So, I mean, in your opinion, would you rather have size or speed, or a mix of both in the NFL? Coming out of college, do you think it's better to have more speed at the offensive tackle position, or do you think size is more
I think when I looked at his clips, I think the thing that he has a combination of both size and speed. And like you said, he is a big man. Looking at his highlights, really long arms, which is a bone, especially for offensive tackle. But I think the main thing that he has is he gets to work with a coach like Butch Barry, one, and two, he gets to work with Teron Armstead and possibly Austin Jackson, two guys that are playing at a high level right now. And I think Teron may have maybe one more year left or whatever. This might be his last year because he's been contemplating retirement. But you get to study behind one of the guys is one of the best in the game, pick his brain, watch him, and hopefully that gives you time to develop and step right. But he has the athletic ability. He has the size and strength and everything to be one of the best. He's just got to get out there, and once he gets comfortable, we've got another good offensive tackle. So that was a good thing. And he's not in a pressure situation right now. As long as nobody hurt, that you got to rush to get him out there. But if he's showing talent early on, I could possibly see them playing him at a low guard, little backup tackle, this and that, to get him out there just to kind of get him acclimated to things. But I was highly impressed with that young man.
Yeah, and the cool part is he actually just made the roster as the second tackle behind Teron Armstead. So I think that's pretty cool that we're going to see him play a lot in the preseason. He's going to be one of the people that I'm really watching. I think he can really do good in a couple of years with Austin Jackson. We might have two franchise tackles, which would be really nice for Tua.
That'll be lovely. I don't think Tua will be too upset about that. I think that'll put a smile on his face.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So I was just wondering, since you went to the draft this year and obviously you got drafted, how has the draft kind of changed from when you got drafted to today?
From when I got drafted, it was a totally different thing. I got drafted in 1990. And the big thing then was a few guys would be invited to New York. And if you ever see any old clips from the draft way back in the day, they used to have these helmet-like telephones, and it was for each team. So the Dolphins have a Dolphin helmet telephone. They'd have a guy sitting there, and he'd pick up the phone, and, they tell him who it was, and then they would write on the card and giving it to the commissioner, and then he would go announce it. But I was actually at home with my parents in Dallas, and I watched the draft for that. Probably could have went to New York, but I didn't want to. I wanted to spend it with my family. But now it's a fashion show. These guys, they got the tailored suits, the jewelry. They come out looking, it's almost like the Emmys or the Grammys or something. They got the red carpet and they come out. They get the jersey with the number one, and they give them the hat, the team hat and stuff. So totally different. But I like the way it's involved, because you get an opportunity to interact with the fans and stuff like that. And once you do get drafted, you automatically get interviewed by, major network, so you can see it play back on TV and say, okay, this is who we got or whatever. Even if you're at home, you normally show them in the house, and they got the family and stuff there. So it's NFL does it top notch. I really like the way you do the draft now. It's night and day from when I came in the league.
Yeah, they've really done a really good job on how they changed the Pro Bowl and how they've changed the draft. They've really been making it more marketable, which I think the NFLPA has done an amazing job at. The NFL is really mainstream now, which is really cool. I mean, it always has been, but it's never been like this flashy. I feel like the change of game too, the way that the game's changing, it's all correlating. It's changing as a sport, which is really cool.
They got 122,000 people at the draft this year.
Yeah, that's
insane.
That's nuts. That's crazy.
How many was there?
It was like 122,000, I think.
I believe it. It was so many people there. When you would look out in the not I'll say the audience, but you from the stage, you see little heads. It looked like ants, just like out there. It was just so many people. So it was. It was packed in there, and you seen every team represented. People face painted up, you name it, they were there. So it was good, and you saw people walking around, and and all that. But I like the way they move it around to each city because everybody gets an opportunity to host a draft there, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that eventually, I mean, they've been going more north. Hopefully, Buffalo hosts one time, and that'd be awesome. I don't know how that would work, but
I don't know where they would do it.
that would be so cool.
They would not.
It might still be a little chilly. It was a little chilly in Detroit, so I know. Yeah, you might get a little cool snap in like Buffalo, Pittsburgh, there. But diehard fans, this and that. I think everybody's deserving of it. And is it in Green? Where is it next year? Green Bay.
This year.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be a little chilly there, but they'll be out. People come out for that. So it's good, and fans get to interact. Different people from different fan bases get to interact stuff. So it's normally a good time. So it should be pretty cool.
I can't even think about where they would do it here.
I don't even.
I'm trying to think about that now.
Yeah, but it would be really cool. I'm excited to go this upcoming year and the next 2 years since they're so local. I mean, I don't see why we shouldn't go out and just. Hey, Pittsburgh's only 3.5 or like 3.
And you can do a show from there.
Exactly,
yeah, it'll be
take
sick.
some footage and man, just go around interviewing different fans, and you ask people, who do you like, who do you think what's your team needs, this and that, and you really be surprised because a lot of fans do their homework, and they might not get the right guy, but they can give you some information to kind of support why I think the team should draft this as a need or whatever. And I kind of like that because you're like, okay, this person really knows football and you'll meet some who don't football, but that's part of the game. So y'all have a good time. I think you should go. Yeah, I think y'all have a great time.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be great for content. Yeah.
It'd be fun. It'd be fun to go there.
Yeah. So I seen this. I think it happened around 2 months ago. You were in the primary ballot for the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Could you just give a little more in depth on what that exactly was?
Yeah, it came out, and I actually made the ballot, and also one of my former teammates, Zach Thomas, that just went in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's on the ballot as well for the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, and I actually attended this past April. Was it April? March, April, something like that. But my college coach, Jackie Sherrill, actually got inducted in. So I was there, and a lot of my former teammates and stuff. But it's truly an honor. Anytime you get kind of recognition or something like that in a Hall of Fame, like it's whether it's state, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, this and that. But I'm definitely honored, and we'll see how it goes. But just to get your name mentioned, like you said, a lot of times it's stuff like that could trigger something with Pro Football Hall of Fame saying, wait, okay, they're honoring this guy, he made this ballot, this and that. So the more information you get out about you, as long as it's positive, I think that helps. So I'm excited about that, and I just want to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Speaking a little bit on college, what is your personal take about NIL and how that stuff's managed today?
I think it's some pluses and minuses to NIL. I think the thing I do like is the players are starting to get compensated for, if you're one of the best players, you can really get compensated. You can really market. And if you do it right, you can make a considerable amount of money even before you take it to the next level as far as, the NFL, NBA, whatever. The thing I think sometimes where it hurts is sometimes you get so much money that you could lose focus on the way you work to get to college, the effort and stuff like that you put in the work. You need to continue to work that way because college is not your ultimate goal. The NFL or pro sports are. And so I think a lot of times guys kind of lose focus of that. And then I would like to see, I don't know how they can fix it, but I think a lot of guys, when they're unhappy, sometimes they'll just transfer from one school to the next. And I think at times every situation is different, and you have to look at it that way. But have somebody you can truly bounce off that's going to give you an honest opinion, because I think a lot of times when you just every time you're unhappy, you move this and that. I think it slows down the maturity process as far as you becoming a man or adult and this and that. And you're gonna have some adversity or some things, just because you were a 5-star coming out of high school doesn't mean every 5-star is ready to play. And a lot of kids feel, okay, I'm ready to play. And if I don't play, then I just leave and go somewhere else, rather than sometimes no. Get in the weight room, work, get stronger. And if you with a good program or whatever, and they're truly developing players, and you see the transition where they take a guy that came in and 3 or 4 years later, he's getting drafted or getting an opportunity to play in the professional football. I think you got to look at that bit. Sometimes we want instant gratification, and all the time it's not going to be instant for everybody. So you got to be able to really personal assess that and just be able to try to mature a bit. It's good and bad, and I think it'll get better once it kind of settles down, but that's kind of my take on NIL.
Yeah, and the transfer portal has really changed the college football scene. It's a completely different game than it was even 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's totally different, and now what you see is, I think some coaches, they recruit kids out of high school, but the good thing about the portal is a lot of times some kids play at a school 3 years, graduate in 3 years. Well, now they're entering the portal. They'll go to another school, but you can get a player that has experience to where if you lost a lot of players in the draft or graduated, you can go in the portal and address needs to where it won't be such a huge drop off, to where you can say, okay, if I manage this right, I got high school players, I got experienced guys, and that kind of keeps everything rolling smooth. So that is a good thing about the transfer portal, is it gives, if you manage it right, you won't have such a drop off. Say, okay, we might need a receiver. Well, this guy, he's got 2 or 3 years, he's averaged 800, 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards. So he runs good routes. You can look at his tape and this and that and say, we offer him a scholarship, bring him in, and that keeps things going until you develop some of your young receivers. So, yeah, you're right. The portal can be good. You're right about that.
It's kind of almost how the NFL is with free agency. That's kind of the same thing. It's kind of turned more from the college, all right, let's go and get 5-star recruits, 4 stars. Let's get these high school players. Now you're not just looking at that in the offseason. You're looking in the transfer portal for almost like free agents. I think it's developing into its own thing, but it's really cool to watch. And I'm getting more into college the more I actually pay attention to it.
Yep, I think you hit the nail on the head. I couldn't have described it any better. It's just a form of free agency in college football, and that's a great way to put it.
So obviously, growing up playing football, you're always watching the NFL. Me and Landon could say this too. We all have our favorite NFL players. When you were growing up playing high school football, Little Loop, whatever, what was your favorite player in the NFL?
Well, I grew up in Dallas, so I was a Dallas Cowboy fan growing up. I would probably say Roger Staubach, Tony Dorsett, Drew Pearson, and then on defense, we had Harvey Martin and Ed Too Tall Jones. Those were guys that, those were the names that you heard of. We had a guy named Hollywood Henderson played linebacker. He was flashy, but he was really, really good. So I was a huge Cowboy fan growing up, and went to college. And then once I got drafted to the Dolphins, that's when I switched over to becoming a Dolphin fan and started learning about the history of them. But yeah, the Cowboys was my team growing up as a kid. Yeah.
So if you were to assemble your own team today, who would be some the best players on the team that you would make?
Well, of course, you could start with I got several. You got Tua, you got Cheetah, you got Jalen Waddle,
Yep.
You got Teron Armstead, you got I just start with the best we got. Defense. I'm trying to think. I just lost my track, but Jalen Ramsey, the safety.
Javon Holland.
Javon. I'm snatching all the best players from the Dolphins, and then I'm gonna add a few in from other places. Those are the names that just pop out and just say, okay, I would definitely load up because I watch the Dolphins more than anywhere else. But you got your Patrick Mahomes, you got your Josh Allen's, you got I think Russell Wilson's in Pittsburgh now. So those guys travel and move around. Jefferson, the receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, he's really good. You got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase at Cincinnati. So you're always looking at those guys, but the majority of my guys is still going to come from South Florida, and I'll build it up from there, and then maybe cherry pick a player here or there because I don't want to pick too many from another team because then all my Dolphin fans be mad at me. So I'm going to stick with my Dolphins.
And I am like the same way. Like if I was making my own team, I would have at least like 6 or 7 Dolphins. But the crazy part is I don't even think that's a biased take because we had 8 Pro Bowlers this year, and that's the second most. I think the San Francisco 49ers had 10. Am I right about that? They had more than us. Probably. They either had 9 or 10. Yeah. But, I mean, the Miami Dolphins, we do have a lot of talent. I mean, I would want Bradley Chubb. He was playing at such a high level before he tore his ACL, MCL. I mean, he was getting 3 sacks a game, 2 games in a row, and then he ended up tearing it. It was so sad. But I would definitely draft a couple of Dolphins. I mean, you have to have Reek, Waddle. They're like the dynamic duo in the NFL right now. I would personally put Devon Achane as one of my running backs. He's so explosive.
Mine would just be completely biased. I just have a bunch of Bills.
I mean, honestly, I guess
you was gonna say that. I figured you was gonna say that. Yeah.
I mean, Josh Allen, he is probably one of the
most beast
players.
He'll beast, man. He'll beast. You gotta give Josh credit. You might not like him, but you gotta give him credit. He'll beast. I mean, he comes to play, and he's a type of player. If it's enough time on the clock, he can come back and you have you scratching your head like we left him. We shouldn't have gave him that opportunity. Yeah, he's that type of player, and he don't shy away from big moments like that. And I like his competitive stuff. I just prefer when we beat him more than we lose to him. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the argument that most people have against him is that he doesn't really – in the big games, he can't win the big games, which I don't even agree with. In my opinion, I think he does win the big games. His defense loses the games for him. I mean, 13 seconds, that was not his fault. He won that game for him. I mean, all of their playoff games, he hasn't played bad in, I'd say. I'd say the defense is just –
the only game was Cincinnati that was mad.
Yeah.
But he got sacked a bunch.
All 3 Chiefs games, I think he played at a very high level. And what can you say about that?
You're going to make me talk about this?
Yeah.
It was, it was good, but, you see him and Mahomes go back and forth, and you see the level, and I think he matched his level of play. I think it's not just, the quarterback position. I like it, but sometimes they get unwarranted criticism, and sometimes they get unwarranted benefits from the game. And a lot of times, I try to tell people it's a team sport. Quarterback is the hardest position probably by far to ever play on the field, but you win as a team, you lose as a team, but it's just the narrative that the media create to say, oh, he lost to that. And I'm like, no, Josh Allen didn't lose. The Buffalo Bills lost, or the Buffalo Bills won. Did Josh Allen, was he great in that game? Yeah, it was. It's a team sport, and I think that's the thing, and that's why a lot of people focus on it and say, oh, he didn't do this in big. Well, now it was other people that didn't do well in big games too, so you can't just do it like that. That's just the way the media creates the narrative, and they're not going to change it. So that's the way fans kind of play into it.
Yeah, and I want to put a pin in what you just said about quarterback being the hardest position. I just want to go over this real quick. Just sending a big high five to my brother Richmond from France. It's Dan, from France.
Damn, my man. That's him. That's my man right there. Yeah, he's been – just like you guys, he's been a huge voice as far as really pushing to try to get me in the Hall of Fame. And he's done some really great interviews with different people. And he shares, retweets, and all that. So yeah, I know exactly. He's supposed to be teaching me how to speak French, but he ain't done that yet. So, but I'll cross that bridge with him a little bit later. I ain't forgot. I ain't gonna let him forget. Now I want to be able to speak French like him. He's smooth. Yeah.
I completely agree with Dan. Then we need to get you in the hall. I'm gonna make, especially when they're close to it, I gotta make like a huge push on Twitter. We've been getting a lot of impressions recently. We need to get you in the Hall of Fame. It has to be. It has to be done before 2030. It's got to be done.
Sounds good to me. I'm not gonna argue with that. Yeah.
I'm always here for French lessons. Oh. So back to what you said earlier. I had this written down as, if you had to pick 5 positions, what are your 5 hardest positions in the NFL? So out of all football positions, special teams, defense, offense, what are your 5?
I would probably say quarterback. I would say tackle, either left or right. It just depends on who's over there. Offensive tackle. I would say cornerback.
Corner for sure.
Center, and maybe like inside backer, something like that. I think there's 5. Yeah.
I think the only difference that I had in my list that I think I made it a couple weeks ago, I had free safety over there, like the over the top safety. That's a very hard position. I watched some Javon Holland film. The stuff he can do, it's incredible. Yeah. Him and Kyle Hamilton are, in my opinion, like some of the best in the league at what they do at that.
And you look at it, if it's a really great player, he'll make it look like it's not as hard as it really is. You know what I'm saying? You look at it and say, oh, man, he made that play. But if you truly understand it, you look at it and be like, man, that was a hell of a play, because most people can't do what he just did. So, yeah, you're exactly right. I started to say, I thought about safety, but I said, yeah, it's tough, because like I said, you got to be able to read. If you bite up on the wrong thing and that you're supposed to be in double cover with the corner and he splits you and get on top of you, it could be 6 points just like that. So yeah, it is a tough position to play.
And when I think of free safety too, I can only think of like that prime 2021 Micah Hyde. Like he was picking off quarterbacks left and right, and he got us a couple of times. I remember Fitz. He got Fitz 2 times in one game. The one game, he's one of those guys that, like, I mean, you've seen him more than I have, but
I love Micah Hyde.
Yeah, Micah Hyde. We got his brother Jordan Poyer on our team now. What do you think about Jordan Poyer?
A good player. I like him better on my team now than when he wasn't on our team. So, he's one of the best safeties in the game, and I am glad he is with us now. I wasn't last year because he was on Jimmy's team, but yeah, now he with us. I can root for him a little bit more.
Yeah, and I've heard from training camp that he's really been like a veteran presence, and he's been like stepping up as like a captain role. So like, could you say something about that? Because like, I don't even know, was he like a big time captain on the Bills?
Oh yeah, Poyer was a captain almost every single year he was on the Bills. That is a huge leadership role that you guys gain, and we lose.
Yeah,
Poyer is a fantastic leader, no doubt.
And with our young safeties too, this will be very helpful for their development.
So was one of your favorite players on the Bills?
Was he one of my favorite players?
Yeah.
I was more of a Micah Hyde guy, but I still love Poe. I mean, I loved everyone mainly. There's a few guys that are like, but I mean, I was more of a Micah Hyde guy, but it does suck seeing him go to division rival, especially when it's the Miami Dolphins. But
well, you can come with him now. We'll take you. You can come with him.
Yeah, come pull up back over. I mean, he's in the Dolphins cave right now. We got this set up since the last time we got it. We're ordering a picture. We have a picture of you and Dan. It's going right here, right to fill this frame. It's going to be next time you see the setup. It'll look a little different.
It looks good. Y'all doing a good job. It looks really good. I like it.
Yeah,
That
thanks.
looks real good.
I'm okay on my side of the rivalry.
We'll see. I think this year really could cement the Dolphins as like a competing team for the division for the next couple of years now. I mean, this is if we could beat the Bills at least one time, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do every other year.
Yeah. It's just I think sometimes you just got to get over that hurdle, and then I think that's one. And then I think, like I said, stay healthy and start to play really well and consistent in December. We always start out, seem like September, October, jump out the box, but make those adjustments to continue to keep doing what you were doing early in the season. And because I believe we was on a lot of people's radar, and if things would have went the way that most Dolphins fans expected, we had an opportunity to probably be the number 2 seed in the playoffs last year. We just lost too many games, and we went from possibly being 2 to like 7. So it's like it just shows you how easily it can slip away. And I'm hoping that's in the back of the players' mind now. And like you said, bringing leaders and stuff like that. So hey, we were right there and we let it slip away. And you only get so many opportunities. So I think with leadership, like guys that were captains, stuff like that, that help keeps guys focused. And we complete the task this year. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
You guys come win in Highmark. You have my full respect.
I want to get out of MetLife with no injuries. That's my goal this year. I mean, if we could win in Highmark, that would be good. But if we could get out of MetLife Stadium with 0 injuries, that's more of a win in my opinion. I mean, we had like 3 season enders last year, including Jalen Phillips, who he shouldn't even have been in the game on Black Friday. I mean,
that one hurt. That one hurt when his Achilles popped. I was like, oh man, just.
And did you watch the Hard Knocks? Yeah. So when it happened, the sound he was making and like how distraught he was, like he wasn't even in pain as much as he was just like so sad that he knew his Achilles popped. It was a hard watch, at least for me.
It was a hard watch. Yeah. Yeah. That was tough because I mean he works his tail off to be in the best shape, condition, this and that, and then you really having a really good year, and then something like that happens. That's a emotional roller coaster that he was on, and I can get that, but it just shows how much love he has for the game and how competitive he is, and he just didn't want it to end that way. But he looks good this year. It's just initial shock that, like you said, it didn't look like he was in pain, but it's just knowing that you can't help your team compete to try to win what we set as a team to accomplish that goal. I think all those different type of emotions were going through his head, but he's back at it, and he looked like he's on point. And he's gonna be a man on a mission. I don't know how soon they'll play him or whatever, but he looks really good right now. So I'm sure they'll be smart with it and bring him along, because he's one of those core guys that could be a future to year in, year out that you sign. Okay, this is one of the guys we got to have to continue to have excellence with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, and the one great thing that we have is depth. With the addition of obviously Chop Robinson, but also Mohamed Kamara, Calais Campbell too. We have a lot of leeway. Like, we don't have to rush him back. McDaniel and Greer are very good about that, where they don't want to rush players back. If you don't need to come back, don't come back. They just want you for playoffs. So they might hold him until like week 3, even though he might be ready week 1. He might not. Yeah. He might not see the field. Yeah, Von Miller is a prime example of that. He rushed back, didn't he?
Yeah, he rushed back. He looks way better now. But yeah, he rushed back last year. But
that's my little Aggie brother.
It's what?
That's my little Aggie brother. Yeah, Von Miller. We were the same school. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's Aggie.
And Von Miller, I mean, he has really been able to play at a high level at an older age too. Which
he was great before he got hurt.
Not a lot of players can do that.
He's
crazy. Yeah, he's one of the best pass rushers to come to the NFL. He's really talented and can rush from either side, this and that, and he can make that play to be a game changer. So yeah, you definitely got to always account for where he is on the field.
Mm-hmm. And as an offensive tackle, you can always have more insight on like O linemen or D linemen. So what do you think this year about Calais Campbell coming in? He last year had 6.5 sacks at, I think it was his age 36 or 37 season. Like, he's playing at a very high level going into, I think, year 37 this year. What are your thoughts on him helping out the Miami Dolphins this year?
Yeah, I like him. Like you said, last year, 6.5, 36. And I don't know if he might not be an every down player, but he's a player that you can come in and play in situation, plays real well against the run, can give you that pass rush, that push up the middle to free up guys like Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. So it's a reason the Dolphins signed him and saw value in him even at that age. And still he gets in there and he acts like he's 37 years old. I can tell you that he still, gets it up and gets the energy going. And he's also a guy, when you played at that level, a lot of guys respect him. So he can help some of the younger defensive linemen and stuff with them, how they approach the game, what they need to work on, what he sees, not just on the field, but in the film room and stuff like that. And that's tremendous. You guys that in the locker room.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what he can do, and he really will, in my opinion, help us out a lot. The depth and the run stop that he can still have. I mean, he's one of the best run stopping D tackles and D ends, like, still to this day. He's been doing it at a high level for a long time. I'm very excited to see what he can do. So this is our last thing before we're gonna sign out. If you could name 3 players, they can be current or all time, that should come on the podcast, who are you saying? We need 3 players.
3 players. So you got me and Juice, right?
Yep.
I think I would say current. I would probably say Cheetah, because I think he has a podcast. I don't know now that the season started how hard it would be able to get him on there, but I think he would be good. Trying to think. Well, I would say Marino, but he too busy. Y'all ain't gonna get Marino. He works for the organization, so
we've been trying him for so long.
Yeah, he works for the organization. That would be a pretty tough one. So I'm trying to think. I don't know if Zach Thomas does many podcasts, but man, just for his football knowledge and just what he sees and breaks down, the way he studies film and just his knowledge of the game to share with the fan base, I think that would be tremendous. And I need one more. I'd probably say, so I gave you offense, defense. I'm gonna give you either Javon Holland. I think Javon Holland, he looked like he would be pretty fun to interview just from where I see different little clips on Twitter and stuff like that. I think he would be good to just kind of pick his brain and just see, because he's a hell of a player. So those are 3 I would try to get. Might be hard now because like the 2 I gave you, Cheetah and Javon Holland, is the season, so they probably have to do it on an off day. I don't know how active they are, but that was that. And then Zach will be good, but I just don't know. I hadn't really seen Zach on too many podcasts, but one of the smartest guys I ever played with, and that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to make the push for all 3 of those guys. And thank you for coming on again. This has been another great episode. This is Turf Talk and Richmond Webb Part 2. So I'm very happy. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I look forward to it, and y'all had a great day. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. So everyone, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's make Richmond Webb a Hall of Famer. So Richard Donahue and
Lynn Stuziak
signing out. Goodbye.